I knew this would happen one day, deep down. Batman has always been one of the fictional characters that I've connected with the most. In spite of everything that Bruce Wayne went through, he was still a human beneath the mask. Despite being only human, Batman was and is a beacon of hope to many people. And that's exactly what Kevin Conroy was to me. Growing up, whenever I was feeling overwhelmed by the struggles of life, I often found my escape in Batman's world. Now, my first exposure to the world of Batman was the constant reruns of the TV show from the 1960s that would always be airing on the Family Channel every day after I got home from elementary school. And while the show is definitely nostalgic for me, it wasn't the form of Batman that I could really connect with. Sometime later, I read my first Batman story, Birth of the Demon, and I was sucked into the world instantly. And as the years went by, I came across various iconic Batman stories, such as The Long Halloween, The Dark Knight Returns, and one of my personal favorites, Under the Red Hood. And although I loved reading these books, some part of me still felt like I was missing something. It was then that I went to my local family video store alongside my dad, and there I saw all 5 combined seasons of both Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman Adventures. This was it. This was what I'd been looking for. I got as much as I was allowed to at one time and binged through the shows in what felt like no time at all. More than once I would go back to the video store and check out the DVDs and binge through them again. These characters had so much heart and so much care put into them, and it showed. I lost count of how many times I watched those shows over the past couple years. And then we get to the year 2011, and that's when I discover the Batman Arkham series. Arkham Asylum had been out for 2 years, and I had no idea. I hadn't seen anything about the game. I didn't even know it existed. Because information about video games wasn't nearly as easy to come by in the 2000s decade as it is now. And on October 18th, 2011, I was gifted both Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman Arkham City by my parents, as well as a close childhood friend of mine. I insert the Arkham Asylum disc, and right as the opening cutscene unfolded before my eyes, something felt familiar. As Batman started talking, my mind leapt with joy. I know that voice. That was the voice I had admired for so long growing up. That was the voice that gave me hope. And now I was controlling that character. I was running with Batman, grappling with Batman, fighting with Batman, sneaking with Batman, gliding with Batman. In a way, I felt like I was right there in Batman's world as he faced his greatest challenges ever. Just like the animated series had served as my escape from pain as a toddler, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City were what I turned to in order to escape the hardships of life as a teenager. There was no feeling quite like it. Whether it was for 10 minutes or over 2 hours, I got to escape the pain of life, and I got to go on this adventure with Batman. And the factor that made me as attached to those games as I would end up being was none other than Kevin Conroy. Because once again, he brought this beloved character to life he made it to where I could feel everything that Batman felt. The pain, the struggle, the desperation, and the reality. And despite being a human who faces mortal struggles just like the rest of us, the fact that I could temporarily escape the hardships of my real life and follow this unique Batman story was truly a gift. Fast forward to last year, July 2021, during the Summer GalaxyCon in North Carolina. It was during that weekend that I got to meet the man who had such a big influence on my life, much more than he knew. And I was blessed with a moment to thank Kevin for saving a young child's life and for constantly inspiring him as he slowly became a man. And because I had known a decent amount about Kevin's past that he had shared before, I felt right asking him for advice. I almost felt like a Robin in that sense. Like Batman, Kevin also stared into the abyss at multiple times in his life, and despite some bumps along the way, Kevin always bounced back. Beyond him being a brilliant actor, he had a generous soul. And on the day that this picture was taken, I told Kevin about the struggles I was facing in my own life, and I confessed, with about 50 strangers behind me that I'd never met, I confessed to having no idea how to overcome such overwhelming odds. And Kevin smiled at me and proceeded to compare my mindset on that day to himself when he was much younger. And I'll never forget these words that he said to me. We always have a choice. Those words have stuck with me ever since that day. We have a choice to either let darkness overtake us or to stand up and face it head on. The remarkable thing was how much that exact sentiment applied to Kevin himself. Not only did he spend over 30 years portraying a character constantly at war with his inner darkness, but Kevin was even at war with his own darkness multiple times, and yet he continued to persevere. And even in his last couple months on Earth, while facing sickness, Kevin continued to push through this ailment so that he could show up at conventions and continue to bring joy to people's faces, as he had done for so many years. It's not an exaggeration to say that Kevin Conroy changed my life, and I hope that this tribute can honor his. He was vengeance. He was the night. He was our Batman. Rest in peace, Kevin.